Welcome, pilots!
Hi, Zukata.
Hi, Jen.
Welcome, everyone, and thank you for joining us on this new Dev Shorts. And special welcome to our new players coming from Asia. It's very good to see you.
We have just released Season 2 with amazing new content like Volta the Spider, Spearhead game mode, Robot Loki, and much more. We have received overwhelming feedback from you guys, and we are very excited about this. We are also aware about technical issues, performance problems with the game. Our team is working hard on fixing those. We have already released 2 hot fixes. Another one is coming on July 1st. Thank you for your feedback and for your patience.
As we move into Season 2, we're taking all the learnings from Season 1 into account, and we hear your feedback as well. And you want to have more frequent updates with more quality of life updates as well in a timely manner. And so we are moving to shorter development cycles, actually, to deliver and to be more reactive to your feedback. Meaning that we will be deploying, hopefully in a more stable and more polished way, the new features. But also it does mean that PTS will not be as intense as it used to be, but we'll be keeping PTS for the big seasonal updates to test new content before it's going out.
Yes, Chen. So talking about the shorter dev cycles, next thing we are going to share with you guys is some of the features we are going to add to the game in the upcoming months. And let's start with July. The first thing we'd like to share with you is the limited time event map. This is an experiment for us. We are going to introduce a new map in virtual reality setting, same as the firing range. This allows us to produce map layouts quite fast. So if you really like that, guys, we will be adding more of that later. And then we will have a special daily deal event with a unique Titan weapon for Grim, Jigsaw. If you played CBT version of the game in the closed beta, you have seen that, and now it's ready to be released. Further on, we will have an Elimination Plus event, the redesign of the Elimination game mode. We got a lot of feedback from our players that it's not as exciting as it could be, I'd say. Then we will have a new Battle Pass content. Mesa, Defender Robot, will join the fight there. More robot balancing and matchmaking improvements, which will be covered later. Then we would like to allow to place stickers on factory reps, and we'd like to make daily deals friendlier to our players. Chen, could you share a bit more about the August part?
Yes, of course, Boba. So we also are going to have a new limited time event map in August, and actually we want to have those on a monthly basis with new layouts every time, if this is something that you're very happy with. Then we're going to add the next Titan weapon, Bayonet, into the daily deal. And we're going to look into the team deathmatch as well, game mode, as again, we received some feedback about this to try and make it more fun for the players in the future. Then we're going to look into the factory builds and to make them easier for players to switch from factory to custom, especially for new players. And we're going to look into the impact points, and we're going to detail that in the Q&A section right after. Then we're going to look into the clarity of progression for new players so that they understand what is unlockable for them for free in the future. And then we're going to continue working on the stickers. As we know right now, they're a bit small and not really interesting, so we're going to make some changes here to make them more relevant for the players.
Yeah, here we'd like also to mention that we are trying to allow players to apply spray paint tags, stickers as spray paint tags on the map.
Yeah, that would be cool indeed.
We are adding 2 new maps to the Wild 10 world. Then we will have another daily deal event with the new weapon for Matriarch, Titan weapon called Scrubber. We'll have new robots coming your way and some improvements made to the Battle Pass system. Unranked mode is one of the things that you've been requested for a while, because you wanted to have the possibility to test some of your hangars and builds without pressure of losing rating. We'll also have tutorial improvements and matchmaking improvements, and we'll talk a bit more in detail later in this video about the matchmaking improvements. So this was our roadmap. You can see all the information on the website, and check there if you want any more details.
When will you make matchmaking fairer? Currently, Platinum players get matched with Nokian players.
Yes, so we understand that right now not all the players are happy with the matchmaking system that we have in the game, and we always seek for new ways to improve the system. We think that the system is, in general, is good, but there are a lot of improvements, a lot of tweaks we could do to address the problems. For instance, next we are going to do closer rating matching, so that when you're being matched together, the rating of other players is closer to yours. Then we will stop large squads from being matched with the single players, and then we want to inform squads when you're in a squad what league are you going to be matched against, so that you know before you actually enter the matchmaking. And further on, we are going to introduce modifiers dependent on win streaks and lose streaks. So let's say when you get a win streak, you get an extra rating points to your system. And when you have a lose streak, you actually being detracted the rating points. And finally, we also want to add more rating extensions, so that it's not just first you're matched inside your league, and then after some time you're matched against all the leagues inside your bracket, but it slowly unfolds. So for instance, you're a Nokium, then you have an extension to Diamond, then you have an extension to Emerald, and then you have an extension to Platinum.
Are there any plans to address matchmaking issues? A few points. Matchmaking currently doesn't take upgrades into account. Players tank games to match with low-level players, and matchmaking is slow for higher-ranked players.
Yes, so when you're comparing the influence of the upgrading system on your performance and your skill on your performance, the influence of the skill is much, much higher. To put it simply, a Nokian player with the level 1 robot will completely destroy a Bronze League player with a level 1 robot. So taking upgrade levels into account is not an optimal choice, because it will allow the thing we called in previous game, we called it seal clubbers. Basically players were on purpose having level 1 robots playing the game so that they can be matched against the low-skill new players. And we don't want that. We'd like to protect our new players on that part. So that's why we are building our matchmaking system based on the overall performance, and rating is actually quite a good indicator of an overall performance of a player.
Has there been any consideration to lowering the number of players that can be in a crew, having a solo queue option, or at least having an indicator that designates who in the lobby is in a crew together?
Yes, we are actually doing that. We will be restricting the matchmaking so that you cannot be matched against a full squad when you're a single player. Yes.
If teammates quit, can you replace them with bots?
We are actually already doing that from update 1.1. The players, when they leave the game, they are replaced with bots, yes.
Will you look into hit registration? It is a major issue that affects multiple types of weapons, making them less enjoyable to use.
Yes, so we are aware that there are some problems with hit registration, and we've been actually implementing some fixes in the last few updates, and we're going to continue obviously making some progress here. We've already made some fixes for some of the weapons, but we do see that there are still some remaining weapons that are still having some problems. So definitely something that is still work in progress, and we're making this a priority for the team.
Given that weapon balance alone hasn't resolved passive static gameplay, are there any upcoming initiatives to fundamentally rework map geometry, specifically by addressing dominant spawn-adjacent elevation, insufficient flank viability, and excessive sightline exposure to better support dynamic positioning and tactical movement?
Indeed, weapon balancing is not able to solve the issue to a full extent. It's also about the game mode design, and it's also about the level design as well. So we are going to introduce fixes to the elimination and to team deathmatch game modes, because these game modes, they have very little interest points on the map where you have to go to win the match. In elimination, in fact, there are no interest points on the maps, and we are going to add that so that rushing forward, advancing will actually give you more advantage into this. On the side of the level design, we are also going to look into specific sniper spots and spawn points that allow you way too much control over the map so that you can shoot through the whole map, for instance. And we'd like to cover that. It can be tricky sometimes, especially since every robot in our game can jump quite far into the air and shoot from above. But still, it is possible to make it less static and more dynamic. And these two directions we are going to approach so that we are changing the game modes and we are changing the maps.
Will you consider any large changes to game modes like Spearhead? It's far too aggressive with no respawns. Games usually end early, and as soon as one person is out of war robots, matches become very one-sided.
Okay, I can answer that. Indeed, the Spearhead is our new game mode, and it's much more dynamic than all the previous game modes that we had. So Spearhead is about taking one point, and the whole team effort is concentrated on this point. So that means that team coordination, team tactics is much more important in this game mode than in the other ones. And there is no the static problem we have in the elimination and in the team deathmatch modes. But at the same time, for some players, it might be too overwhelming and they might lose their whole hanger very fast. All that said, we still don't have enough data. The data is inconsistent, so we continue to gather the data on this game mode before we actually continue with some of the balancing changes.
Are there any plans to tweak invisibility on Pursuer? Many people agree it is overpowered and should disengage when you fire your weapon.
So when this video is released, actually we have already implemented a nerf for Pursuer. So now when the Pursuer starts firing, his invisibility falls off and his ability is no longer working at this moment, and it should fix the issue.
Could we see healing weapons or deployable shields to help teammates in the future?
Yes, so definitely something that we're looking into. As a support player myself, I really want to have more things like weapons or pilots or robots with support abilities. And that's something I talk to Zukata about like quite often, actually. So definitely something that we want to look into for the future. Nothing firm to announce quite yet, but something that we're going to announce, well, sometime soon, I guess. And also, actually, we had some ideas coming from Mexico and fish stickers that are super interesting as well, and the team was very hyped about those kind of ideas. So thank you for sharing your feedback and ideas with us.
Are you going to buff Volta? It feels a little too weak right now.
We don't want to release the overpowered content in the game, so we still need to make sure that the robot is in balance, the Titan is in balance, because it has been recently released. It got very positive feedback on the closed super test and during the release. So we still need to monitor and to gather some more information on that robot's performance before we can actually decide, yes, it needs a buff or it needs a nerf.
Will there be any more discount events?
Yes, so that's actually something that I'm going to refer back to the roadmap that we shared previously. We are going to have some events throughout the summer. Nothing really specific right now, but we will make sure that we'll be announcing this beforehand so that you're not caught by surprise, definitely.
New players may be overwhelmed with the amount of leveling they need to do to unlock everything. Do you plan to address this?
So the progression system in the game right now is very linear and it's up till the last level. Right now, I think with active play, you can go through the whole progression in a month of play. But in future, we don't want this to be an infinite ladder with 1,000 steps. That's not very enjoyable for new players. So we will look into diversifying this more so that you could choose your path on the progression later when we have more content in the game and when we have more longer progression.
Will we be able to create different loadouts to choose the build we want to play with for certain game modes?
Yes, that's a really good question. Thank you so much. So, actually, yes, this is something that we're going to look into the future because we want to add more a tactical team play to the game, and we want to allow players to choose the hanger that is going to be the best answer to the problem that is thrown at them, meaning the game mode / map selection. And so this is definitely something that we're going to think about for next year.
When will the Scorpion be available to craft?
Very soon, with the next battle pass, the Spark of Ingenuity, on July 29.
Will the original War Robots be the primary source for content ideas for War Robots Frontiers? Or will the team be branching out for War Robots, weapons, and pilots?
Yes, I can say that we will use both inspiration from the original game, from the War Robots Mobile, and we are also developing some of the robots that are very new to us, and they were not present in the War Robots Mobile. So both works, and as you can see even now, we have some robots that are completely new, and some are taken from the mobile game and are redesigned, and we'll continue to stick to this approach.
And actually, if there's a robot that you really want to see in the game, just let us know on Discord so that we can, take this on board on our side.
Are there any plans to provide players with more stats, such as a personal profile and battle history records, including replays? For example, kills, deaths, and assists, win-loss ratio, or most used item?
Simple answer is yes, definitely part of our plans. We're working on the player profiles. Coming soon-ish, I would say, but yes.
When can we expect the clan system, and what kind of features are planned to support it?
So clans is definitely something that we want to have in the game as soon as we can. But
And it's quite a big feature.
it is quite a big feature, definitely, but we have underlying systems and features that we need to build first, just like the player profile that I mentioned just before.
I mean, you can't literally add a clan member without looking into the player's profile.
Yeah. But in terms of the features that will go with the clans, that will be like achievements, quests, obviously a chat so that you can discuss together, those kind of things. So, and clan wars, obviously in the future as well.
Yeah.
Are more customization or social features planned? For example, customizable calling cards and player emblems, or pre- and post-match player podiums?
In short, yes, we are thinking about a lot of new social features and a lot of new types of customizations we are planning to add in the future. So yeah, keep following and we'll announce it.
Actually, after the Season 3 release, this is going to be one of our focus, social features.
Exactly, yeah.
When you place a decal on a war robot, you can only change its size and rotate it. There is no option to change its position on the war robot. Are there plans to add more options to the cosmetic customization? Yes, Fashion Frontiers is real, and I love it.
Great question.
Yes, in short, yes, we are going to allow more options for adding stickers and more options for customization.
And actually, surprise is coming soon, so stay tuned.
Yep.
Are there any accessibility features planned for the game? I'm colorblind, and some of the color palettes used are hard for me to differentiate.
Color blindness is actually the first thing we'd like to address in our game, because it's quite a significant part of our audience of the game. So yes, we will work on that in the future.
Have you thought about taking inspiration from other games when it comes to battle passes, so that I can complete old passes in the future?
Yes, so this is a great idea actually, and I think this is something that we'll take on board with the team to discuss further. Thank you for joining us today on this Dev Shorts, and as a token of our appreciation, don't forget to redeem the new promo code DevShorts2 to gain 5,000 salvage and 3 days of premium. And also don't forget to join us on Discord when you can ask your questions for the next Dev Shorts.
See you in the Wild Camp.
Pilots.